Well, hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Scout Prepper channel. So it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon in early September in Texas, so time for more Project Bug Out Bronco. And the folks at Bronco Graveyard, easily the greatest Bronco and F-150 retailer I've ever seen, have been gracious enough to sponsor the project and help us out with some parts. Really thankful to them for their discounts and donations, what they're trying to do for us. Today I'm going to work on the seats. So the wheels and tires are on, the bearings in the front, both sides, ball joints are done, front end alignment's done, the new caster camber correction plates are in, all that good stuff. So it's driving fine, it's running fine, but cosmetically it's a long way from fine, right? Lots of problems, and we're starting with the seats. Let me show you kind of what we're working with real quick. Okay, as you can see, we are working with these seats. Now, they're not the right seats for the Bronco. I have no idea where these came from. Maybe some type of Jeep year. Based on their size, they're kind of small. You can see they're just completely shredded. The brackets are kind of broken. They're not very stable. They're just terrible, hard to work with. And they don't even move up and down anymore, so you're stuck in the same position. So, again, Bronco Graveyard, super awesome sponsor, has helped us out with ta-da! The MOAB seat from Corbeau. So these are reclining seats. These are in neoprene, and they're going to go right in there. We also have the Corbeau brackets, which the driver's side will use a brand new bracket that we have for it, from Corbeau. But the passenger side, because if you remember the Bronco, it's two-door, so the passenger seat flips forward and, you know, inclines and then slides forward. Well, you wanted to retain that kind of behavior, and now they have, pretty new to the market, they have a bracket from Corbeau that uses it's a Corbeau seat bracket, but it uses the flip mechanism from the passenger seat. You mount that on the bracket, then the seat on the bracket, and it all works. So I'm really excited to get those in. So that's the project today, is going to be the seats. We're going to try to get these seats looking better. Also, I was going to show you that we got the headliner and all the sealing corrected. So if you saw before, and we need a new dome light lens, but the sealing was trash. The headliner was totally cut, sagging down, huge gash cuts in it, and that's all done now. So a local guy did a real nice job of a custom headliner, and he even put a little an indentation or rise going right there to give it a little bit of style. It looks great. So the headliner's done, and it's time for some seats. Here we go. Okay, so there's the driver's seat out. Not too bad, but kind of a real weird reach. The head of the bolt is on this side, but the nut to hold it is, you know, of course, under the Bronco. So you kind of do this taco thing with one hand inside the Bronco and one hand outside of the Bronco. Kind of weird, but I got it out. So this bolt was completely missing. I didn't know that, so I only have 3, but I can get it back in with 3 and then drive up to the motor parts place and get another bolt, I'm sure. Okay, so the driver's seat is in. As you can see, Corbeau MOAB seat in neoprene. Very cool. The Corbeau seat brackets fit perfectly. I didn't change anything. They were an exact match for the bolt holes of the Bronco, as I had hoped that they would be. As you see, these can, you know, these are reclining seats, and they slide backwards and forwards. Now, off the cuff, that may sound real stupid, because you're thinking, well, all seats do that. Well, not necessarily. In the off-road world and in the racing world, a lot of the Corbeau and Recaro seats and stuff like that, they're fixed. They actually don't recline. They actually don't go forward and backwards. So it was real cool. These MOABs are perfect size for the Bronco or F-150. Of course, they also fit Jeeps and stuff like that, but really good size, and they recline and they go back and forth. Okay, now on to this one on the passenger side, and I've got to build on that one a little bit, because again, you have to put the flip mechanism on there. Now you can see right there, those white boxes, those are also seat belts. So if you're seeing this broken down seat belt, as you see, my seat belts are real cut up and jacked up. So I've also bought from Bronco Graveyard, our sponsor, I bought the Corbeau seat belts. They're just 3-point, the regular, just like this style, factory style OEM retractable seat belts. So gonna go with those as well, but I probably won't put those in today. Okay, on to the passenger side. Okay guys, so been working on the passenger side for probably an hour or so. Definitely didn't go as smooth as the driver's side did. On the passenger side, there are some heat shields because of the exhaust underneath that are kind of covering the bolts, but they're threaded, but one of my threaded inserts was pushed down, so it was just spinning. So I ended up having to take off a bunch of protective covering, a bunch of heat shield for the exhaust, which took a little while. And then I had to build the passenger seat, because remember, you have to disassemble the passenger factory seat or whatever you have, and build the swing mechanism, the flip mechanism onto the Corbeau platform. So I did all that. It took just a little while, but I realized that the Corbeau bracket was drilled on the inside. In order for the flip lever to clear, I'm gonna have to drill out the outside of my mounting arms on the Corbeau bracket, but my cordless drill was dead and I don't have a corded one anymore because it burned up. So I'm gonna have to just finish in the morning. I'm losing daylight. I do have everything out. It's all swept out. It's ready. The seat's ready. It's disassembled, but I'm just gonna have to drill that bracket, mount it together, then put it in the Bronco, then put the heat shield stuff back on. So it will take a little while. And this is Saturday, so I can just finish it tomorrow after church. So right now I have to go mow the yard. See you tomorrow. Okay guys, so as you can see, both seats are in. Looks great. It's actually been a couple of weeks, and the opening weekend of deer season happened, so we took these seats out and tested them out last weekend, and they worked really good. Real stable, real comfortable. I love the flip forward, and the driver's seat even flips way more forward than the other one I had, the factory one, so you can kind of get the gear in the back from the driver's side, which is super cool, and then it just snaps right back in. So really loving the Corbeau seats. Today I'm gonna go, since it's probably gonna rain today, I'm just gonna do some on the inside of the Bronco, and it's gonna be a gauge replacement. So my volt and temp gauge is kind of sticking. It's not really working real well. I replaced this one a few years ago, and then my speedometer is trying to give out. It has given out a few times, but I keep rebuilding it a little bit. And then I got a new tack. I found a guy on eBay with a tack and speedo combo, so I just took both. But they'll have new needles that are bright and you know, yellow-orange instead of the faded out. And they've got the temperature gauge will work. My volt gauge wasn't as critical. They come together, but I really wanted the temperature gauge. The Bronco hasn't ever had a problem overheating, but a lot of times when we're hunting, we may get you know, where we're going real slow down trails and stuff, and I always worry about it getting a little bit hot. So I definitely want a gauge working, so I at least know what's going on. Okay, so on to the gauge repair. Okay, everything's all apart. Gonna replace this one, this, and this. So all but one of the 4 gauges. There's some of the bezel and stuff. I actually had something kind of weird. This brass insert, which you can see over here, when I took it out, when I took the screw out of it, it went flying back behind there. So instead of just taking the cover off, I literally have to take off the other 4 bolts, take the whole instrument cluster out. But here we go. Okay, the moment of truth. So I have all the gauges back in. Got the speedometer bolted back in, speedometer cable connected, all the other gauges connected. Of course, I hadn't put the trim all back on and bolted the cluster back in, but I want to see if it works before I put it all back together. That's a good sign. When I turned the key forward, the lights came on and the Eureka! Alright, tack is working. I don't know on the speedo, but obviously the cable connected correctly. Gas and oil are working, which is good. Bolts are working, which is great because the battery gauge was totally dead off. But nothing on this temperature, but of course it's bone cold. It hadn't been run today, so I'm sure that'll come up. Okay, let's put it all back together. And there you go, all back together. Bronco's running. Everything seems to work, even the headlights. Does light up the gauges, as you see. So I'm happy with it. Everything seems to be working so far. One little telltale sign on that volt gauge in the Bronco and F-150, see it moving with the blinker a little bit. It's a good sign of response. It was dead and way over for me. You know, it's sitting on about 10 volts before I replaced it. Tack works. Everything seems to work. I'm gonna go drive on the road and see how the speedo does, but that's it. Okay, so the new gauges are done, and also at the same time, the rear window switch was acting up on me. It was starting to go out. You had to kind of push it at a weird angle. Here's the old one. Didn't even have arrows on it anymore. But I didn't know it had arrows. It came like this, you know, when I bought it 8 or 9 years ago. Anyway, a new switch has arrows, so now the rear window, we cleaned it up last week to get it to function a little bit better, and a new switch, so we're good to go.